Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for watching. If you like spirituality, tarot, commentary, cooking, art, you're in the right place. If not, you see the doors right there. But today I just wanted to come here and give a reading on the infamous Nicki Minaj. And this is just, this reading is kind of dear to my heart because I used to be a barb back in my younger days, and I'm going to try to do this reading as unbiased as possible, so I don't want to get too deep into it, but it is disheartening seeing somebody that you grew up just inspired by and someone who exuded so much confidence and acceptance and strength and tenacity and courage, and that energy really impacted you, and really, you felt a connection to this person. Just to see, steadily, just as you grow and as you age and as you kind of grow into yourself and you grow into your purpose, you kind of realize, like, you kind of see people differently, and you kind of don't resonate with the same people that you once did. And I kind of feel like I've kind of grown out of, because I used to be very much into the pop, and I still am interested in pop culture and, celebrity culture and all of that, but not as much as I used to. And I feel like just as I've grown more in my spirituality and just grown more as a person, I resonate with the less, like now my connection to pop culture is I like to do readings. I like to look deeper into things. I like to learn, see the lesson in a lot of these stories and these, because celebrities are just humans just like us. But I think in the bigger picture of things, we can learn a lot from, their stories. And just like as we have our own stories and we have our own lives and we learn our own lessons through our lives. And so I kind of look at, a lot of celebrity culture and just the scandals and the antics in that way, and not in a way of being in like almost like a cult, stan culture and defending the celebrity like that doesn't really care about your existence, honestly, more than you would defend a family member or a friend, so that's kind of more of what my mentality is, at the end of the day, we live different realities than these celebrities. Heartening is just seeing, somebody that you really did grow up loving, and just all of that just kind of spiral into this person that they are now. And I don't think that Nicki is a horrible person. I don't think Nicki is irredeemable. But I think even before I pull cards and do a reading on it, I feel like with Nicki, she has a lot of healing she needs to do. She has a lot of deep internal wounds that kind of fester when certain situations in her life arises. And I just feel like as somebody who can relate to her in a lot of ways, the first step in healing is being accountable. And I feel like that is like the first step that a lot of people get stuck at and kind of don't want to initiate their healing, is they don't realize that they have to be accountable for it, and they have to be accountable for the role that they played into, into the trauma or into a lot of bad moments in their lives. Like there definitely are situations where we are a victim, we are victims, but we, at a certain point in time, we make that choice to stay that. And I'm not saying that Nicki is a victim, but I'm just saying that when you are a strong person and you have been dealt certain hands in life, obviously I don't believe that God and spirit gives you anything that we can't handle. But I just hate, because healing is a two-way street and we all have a choice. So we can either let things that we've been through make us just the worst person in the world, and we use that as a reason as to why, like, that concept of that is the way that's just the way they is kind of energy. Or we can use the things that we've been through to make us better, to make us more nurturing, to make us more caring, to make us more empathetic, to make us more grounded, to make us more just light. And not in the light versus dark, but just light as in not so heavy, just not carrying around all of our trauma and all of our baggage on our backs and just chips on our shoulders and projecting it on the world and like damaging so many people in our wake, because we know that the concept of hurt people, and that's very true. And I feel like with Nicki Minaj, I I grew up, you know, I grew up literally like admiring her, and I know a lot of her story, and I feel like a lot of her ways and her antics is valid, because I feel like she did come into the industry very genuine and very misunderstood, and did get bullied a lot, and has been through a lot of things just growing up, of course, just like we all have, and has made lemonade out of her lemons, and that was her come up story. But I just hate seeing that story, and how it kind of warps, or how that story kind of ages. And I feel like it's just been a steady decline, and we start to reach a point where your pain and your trauma and your experience and the way life, the way people have treated you, can only be an excuse for your behavior for so long, if that makes sense. And I think we just get to a point where, even as a fan, it's like you become an enabler. And we know how bad enabling does to just somebody's growth spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. And that's why I have to get out of the fan culture, just out of all the celebrity culture, all of that, and being a diehard fan, because I have to become a fan of myself first. I'm pouring all this love and life and energy into a person that only looks at me as a consumer, for a person that doesn't care about my rights, or a person that does not care about my well-being in the grand scheme of things, other than selling a concert ticket and getting a stream on Apple Music. And I had to pour that energy back into myself. I had to pour that energy and realize that I could be my own superhero, in a sense, for lack of better words. I could be, I could look up to myself. I can be somebody like, thank you, Nicki, in the sense of showing me, or inciting or inspiring that light in myself. But I can lead it. I can lead the torch. I can lead the torch from here now. I think, but I feel like that's growth. I feel like we idolize things, and we idolize people, and we put people on these pedestals, and when they remind us that they're human, we kind of feel a way about it. But I think there's another way to look at it, in a way that we can then realize that at the end of the day, we are all human, that nobody is better than anybody else, and that money and fame and all these things that we feel like could change a person, or do things that it can, I'm sure it can do great things, but we see time and time again that it's not everything. And when you don't heal, there's no amount of money, there's no amount of fame, there's no amount of anything that will ever be enough. But this has been like a long spiel. I hope it's been making sense. But it's just kind of disheartening, because I just hate to see where things have kind of falling into. And it's kind of like, when you like outgrow somebody, or you get outgrown by somebody, and you kind of just ache, you ache the relationship, you kind of ache over the old you. And just seeing somebody that I grew up loving just on a decline, and just how things have kind of transpired, is disheartening. But I feel like it's also a testament of, your growth. And so if you are like me, and you are in a situation where you're realizing how you resonate less and less with a celebrity or a standing, or you feeling like damn, like I'm putting people on a pedestal and idolizing people and things that don't really care about me, or that don't uplift me as well, or that don't pour back into me, or you're having these thoughts and these same feelings, don't deny that, and don't dismiss yourself, and don't gaslight yourself into settling for mistreatment, or settling, or feeling like you have to be a fan of somebody, or you have to stand somebody, you have to ride for someone who clearly is misaligned with you. And it's like, for you to grow, or for you to stay in alignment, you may need to disconnect from this person. You may need to detach from this person, this relationship, whatever it is, even if it's not Nicki Minaj per se, but I feel like we all can relate to that in some kind of way, where there's like a crossroads, and we have to make a choice. Are we going to stay in alignment with the same thing and with something that maybe that is not initiating our growth, or are we going to go with our gut and go with our heart and want better for ourselves? And I feel like a lot of people are at that place right now in their lives, especially it's just in the spiritual world and just in spirituality, period. You know, there's always a lesson, there's always a test, and there's always a choice that we have to make to either like stay or go, or if this is in alignment with us or if this is not, or do I resonate with this or do I not? And I feel like in regards to Nicki Minaj, I have not resonated with her in a very long time, and it's just disheartening, as I keep saying, just, you know, to see where things are. But before I continue to rant and make this video forever long, let me sip my coffee. And I just want to do a quick little reading on Nicki and see what's going on, what Spirit has to say, what the future looks like. And so right off the bat, we got the Three of Swords and the Three of Swords in reverse. So I feel like in the near future, you know, Nicki, I feel like with Nicki Minaj, one thing I've noticed, especially as being a fan, is she self-sabotages. When things are going really good, when things are smooth, when things are just happy, it seems like she seems to self-sabotage. She seems to lash out. These seems to be moments. It seems like Nicki does not know how to deal with peace. Nicki is so used to being in just tumultuous relationships, growing up in kind of chaotic environments, arguments, combativeness. She does not know how to digest peace. She likes peace, you know, but she yearns for peace, but she doesn't really know what a truly peaceful life looks like. Like, she doesn't have a good point of reference, I'm feeling, or I'm seeing from this. I feel like she gets anxious when things are peaceful. Sometimes she associates peace with boring. You know, she has to make the distinction between, sometimes boring is good because boring is quiet. You know, like, I feel like Nicki is a person who sometimes when she is overstimulated, she doesn't know how to deal with silence. And I think that's why she goes through these phases of like being very social, very vocal, very outwardly appearing, very, very loud sometimes, to then having periods of where she goes into hibernation, where she goes off the radar, where she's quiet. Because I feel like part of her doesn't know how, she's still trying to find her balance in that. And I feel like just the more time that passes, the harder it gets for her to regain her footing or regain her stable ground. I'm seeing like Libra scale as being unbalanced. I'm not sure, because I was looking at her natal chart and I don't know if she has any planets in Libra, but I feel like that may be an energy that she's lacking. And it's funny that her sun is a Libra, so maybe that's why she gave birth to a Libra, because I feel like Nicki really struggles with being balanced and maintaining her balance. She has a Virgo moon and a Sagittarius. She's a Sagittarius with a Virgo moon, and I think it's that almost that hot and cold kind of energy. She's very she knows how to ground herself. That's why she goes through her periods of being quiet and going off the radar, because she, you know, emotionally, that's how she grounds herself. But I think The lack of an air element in her chart too does impact her a little. I feel like that makes her a little more reactive. But I think I definitely am seeing in the near future that she is still going to self-sabotage. She's still, I don't want to say stuck in her ways, but it's like she still has another leg of this. I feel like she still is trying to prove her point in a lot of ways. I think this Erica Kirk situation is her operating out of hurt. This is her operating out of neglect. This is her operating out of resentment. This is her operating out of fear, because I feel like she feels unprotected, she feels undervalued, and she feels underappreciated. And this is how she moves through this world, with this kind of heart feeling backstabbed. And you know, I feel like that kind of coincides with why she is seen to be very hard, or a lot of people say she's very hard to work with in Hollywood. She's very difficult. She can be very rude. She can be very standoffish. I feel like it's because she's operating out of out of a very wounded place. And I'm seeing in the near future, this is still with the way it's still fresh. She's still operating, and I feel like I feel like when things are good and things are peaceful, she tends to self-sabotage. So even when there are no wounds and they begin to heal and nobody is stabbing her in the back, she kind of stabs herself in the back in some ways. But then she deflects. She struggles with being accountable fully for her actions. There's always somebody to point the blame to. There's always somebody to point the finger at. But when in reality, the main wound, the most serious wound, is inflicted by yourself. And I'm seeing already, just in the near future, her aligning with the Republican Party, or that party, is because she's operating from a very wounded place. At the center, we have the Queen of Cups. And so, as she's operating through this wounded place, is very emotionally charged. I feel like she's very, very resentful, and she's I don't want to say she's stuck in the past, but she's stuck in the past. She is stuck on a lot of situations that didn't go right, and she struggles with transmuting that energy. Because the Queen of Cups, I feel like the Queen of Cups is not a negative card. The Queen of Cups, she gives me very emotionally aware. She has very deep emotions. She has maybe deep wounds. She sees deeper into things. This is a very stabilized energy. She's very intuitive, and she's the queen of her emotions, I'm seeing and I'm feeling. But when it's next to this Three of Swords in reverse, I feel like it's that deep emotion. Nicki's very empathic. That deep spiritual side of her, because she hasn't healed, because she hasn't done the work into really healing those mother wounds, healing those father wounds, getting over that healing that inner child, that her gifts, her intuition, her manifestation abilities, just her power in the spiritual realm acts against her. It's like it's like a loop. It creates that loop, and she's very psychic. She's very spiritual, and sometimes she doesn't realize that her gifts work against her. And because the more that she goes without healing, the more damage that she does, the more that she self-sabotages, the more her power is used against her. So this is why she's very good. Nicki doesn't realize that with this energy that she has, she pours life into things. She gives energy. She gives power away. So she has made people. She doesn't realize the people that she has beef with and her enemies and her ops are only at a certain level because she put them there, because she gave her power away, because she poured power into them. And then she doesn't realize that is her power, that is her own power that is used back against her. So that's definitely what I'm seeing with the Queen of Cups next to the Three of Swords in reverse. And then we got the Judgment in reverse. So with this combination, with this combination platter and with this plate, Three of Swords, Queen of Cups in reverse, the Judgment in reverse. All of the people that she attracts, the energy that she attracts, the attention that she attracts, is clouding her judgment. Is, you know, she attracts people that will intentionally cause chaos. She attracts people that intentionally causes her to doubt herself. I'm seeing her husband. She, you know, whatever she engages in, whether it's substances, whether it's drinks, whatever it is, that all that energy just creates a gumbo plate of blocking your intuition and blocking your judgment and blocking your blessings. And I feel like this is her ancestors, this is her angels, this is her spirit guides screaming at her all the time. You know, like she's very spiritual. She shows up as the Queen of Cups. She doesn't like her emotions. This is the opposite element of her sign, being a Sagittarius. So she doesn't feel comfortable being vulnerable in her true power. She hasn't realized that her true power is in her vulnerability. She hasn't realized that. And so just all that combination creates even more chaos. And I'm hearing when you have more and more is expected of you. So it's like she realizes that the bar is raised higher for her, that things have been harder for her, that she has had to work harder for things that other people may have gotten easier, that she doesn't get a lot of the respect or her just due in a lot of ways. But then the way that she goes about self-sabotaging and blocking her blessings and not listening to her spirit team and her spirit guides until it's too late, all plays a role into keeping her down. And so she has, and this is in the near future. So this is still a lesson that Nicki is still learning and that Nicki is still actively playing out. It's like a loop. It's a loop. And I'm seeing, and this is still the near future. So, you know, I don't want to say there's no hope, but I just see someone who has created this house for themselves that is just very hard to break down. She has put up these walls and this defense and this identity in a lot of ways and things that are very cemented in her being and very hard to break down. I'm seeing her relationship, this marriage, like it was not built on love. You know, there is love, but it wasn't built on a healthy love. It wasn't built on reciprocity, you know, because Nicki has been operating from this place, from a place of hurt, from a place of resentment, from a place of lack, and not in the financial things or in the financial things, but emotionally, spiritually. And we got the Five of Cups. But I do see, and this is on her head. So I feel like in spite of the things going on, Nicki does have good intentions with a lot of things that she does sometimes. I feel like Nicki, in a lot of ways, because of the way because she operates from a place of hurt, in the place of the past, in the place of resentment, that it has kind of stunted her growth in a lot of ways. So I feel like Nicki is very smart and intellectual in a lot of ways and very mature in some ways, but in other ways, emotionally and mentally, she's very young. She's very naive. She kind of gives Nicki, I feel like it's like I'm seeing it's like a split. Like part of her people pleases while the other part of her has narcissistic tendencies. Like, so I feel like Nicki, the part of her that gives until she can give no longer, feels like should be an excuse or a reason as to why she should get away with certain actions and behaviors that she has. She feels like because she does this or she gives this or she has done this, that she shouldn't be accountable or held accountable for certain things that she does, especially emotionally. And I feel like that kind of has stunted her growth in the ways of emotionally. I feel like she's very young and naive emotionally in certain ways. And it's kind of like it's just someone who's kind of emotionally stuck at being a 16-year-old girl. Like she feels like people should turn a blind eye to certain things because of who she is. But in the brighter side of it though, I do see that she is a very giving person. Nicki is a very giving person. Nicki does pour life into people, into things that she loves, and she gives from her heart. You know, so I do see this. And she I feel like sometimes when Nicki means well, like it does not always come out that way. I feel like just from the way that she operates from a hurt place, it's like this energy is being filtered through this, and so it kind of comes out distorted. So nice gestures and things that she says sometimes doesn't always come out the right way because of the way that she's operating from. And I don't think that she's always very aware of this. I feel like that is a part of herself that's very naive and very immature and very young. That part that, you know, it's like how other people can see us sometimes better or different and more and deeper in ways than we can see our own selves, because they are seeing us. We can't really see ourselves. All we see is a reflection of ourselves. So I feel like I'm seeing that as well. But her foundation, regardless of whatever Nicki is aligning herself with, the parties that she's aligning herself with, how she's getting into politics, just that aspect, she's still going to stand her ground. Nicki is very much in it for the money. And I know you've probably seen other people say this, but this is definitely true. I feel like the foundation of this is money. I feel like Nicki, I'm hearing pay me for my pain. I feel like because Nicki is operating from a place of hurt, a place of resentment, a place of regret, the only thing that she feels like can make it better or that could heal her in a sense is money, is finances, is staying the queen, is legacy, is that. Nicki is still thinking about her legacy, no matter if the actions that she has been taking have not been the smartest, or especially from our point of views. But she is still thinking about legacy, even if she is making bad moves and operating from a place that is not beneficial. But I do feel like at the root of a lot of this is her comfort. She wants to stay comfortable. She wants to stay where she is. She doesn't want to, because I feel like, you know, since she is very smart and very intuitive, she can see that certain relationships and certain actions and certain things that she's connected to right now may be ruining and tarnishing her legacy. And so even if she doesn't want to admit that she's wrong or kind of turn her tail and, like, you know, renege on a lot of actions that she has done, I feel like she still wants to lessen the blow and in the end create other opportunities and relationships in case of the worst case scenario. So don't get Nicki wrong. Like, Nicki, I feel like she is a person that has a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. So I think that is when some people are saying that she's playing chess, I feel like that is the kind of energy that they're picking up on. But, you know, sometimes you think you're playing chess, but you really are playing checkers. And so I feel like Nicki, even though it can seem a little chaotic, you know, it can seem like she doesn't listen, like she's blocked her blessings, like she doesn't pay attention, like she moves one way, acts the other. She is very calculated. And at the end of the day, she is going to get her money. She's going to stay comfortable. She's going to leave a legacy for her son. She's still focused on that. But I think the industry and just her experience, her life experience, has hardened her up and has made her very cold in a lot of ways that she may not be aware of. And she is just entering in a colder phase in her life where money is just placed as a higher value on her than a lot of ways than it used to. You know, I feel like sadly this is her selling out. Like, people used to say back in the day when she did pop that she was selling out, that she was a sellout. And I used to defend her then and be like, oh no, she could do pop. And I still don't think that was her selling out. But now I really do feel like this energy is giving you the energy of just selling out. And that's just disheartening, you know. That's disheartening. But that's just the few cards that I pulled on this. This video is already long enough. But the energy card, you know, this is her. Like, she's moving on. This is her moving on with with Erica Kirk, with the other party. You know, this is her kind of leaving back the past. This is her leaving her fans, leaving back the people that really supported her and ride with her, and looking for other support, you know. And this is her moving on. So I feel like you should take note too of that, you know. Don't stay in a place that doesn't value you. Don't stay supporting someone who doesn't support you and pour it back into you, who doesn't uplift you. Don't stay supporting an energy or a person or a movement that doesn't uplift you. It doesn't hold you accountable, and it does not care about your well-being. And once you are aware of that, you have every right to make a second choice in regards to who you support and what you value, because that matters. What we pour energy to matters. What we pour life into matters. We don't realize that these celebrities and these people are at the point and at these positions in their life and on this pedestal because of us, because of the power that we have given away and poured into them, and that, you know, the power that they have stolen from us in a lot of ways, and that they're not even grateful for. So we have the right to take that power back at any moment when we deem it necessary. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope it wasn't too ranty. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and leave a comment below and let me know your opinion on this. And if you are a Nicki fan and how you feel. And if you are a Nicki fan and how you feel, because I'm interested. And this is a safe space. You know, we're not going to bash or criticize people for their opinions. We just seek to understand and to express. So thank you for watching.